I really, let me just say, I have to do that. All right, now we're recording. I just have to say how much I appreciate you. More and more every day, and every time I listen, because I was at least 2 classes, probably more, where I was just listening. You know, I wasn't on the screen, so you couldn't see me and I couldn't see you. And I highly recommend that experience now and then, because I had such a wonderful experience of, because I was resting, of listening from the perspective outside the dream, you know, and just seeing and experiencing from a whole new place of what is really happening here, you know, amongst our mighty companions, and at School for A Course in Miracles, where we really are learning. Not only are we learning a completely new thought system, completely new. In other words, changing the way we actually think. And by changing the way we think, seeing with vision instead of with judgment, and which, by the way, is seeing the real world. And the attainment of the real world has been our stated goal for, let's see, I think it's started maybe 6, 8, maybe 10 months ago. I don't know. But anyway, we've been at this idea here at School for A Course in Miracles, that we can and will actually see the real world. It's not just a theory in a book. And we will actually demonstrate by our behavior, by the way we see, our behavior, meaning that we demonstrate defenselessness. We demonstrate that we cannot be attacked. We demonstrate that we're spirit instead of a body. We demonstrate that we actually fulfill the one qualification of the teacher of God, that he actually wants to be one. He has a strong desire for the experience of what that means. He wants to join. And it's those wishes, those desires, that actually call down the grace of God upon you. The desire to be one. The ego, as you know, does not want to be one. It does not want to join. It wants a world, and the world the ego sees is not the real world. But it wants to see a world of sickness, pain, suffering, death, justify its need to be defensive at all costs, that there's something here to defend. And so what the ego actually sees, maybe we can be a little playful with this. What the ego sees is a crime scene. Everybody get that? Nod your head if you get it.
Yes.
It's the world we want to see when we don't want to join, we don't want to be one, and we want to preserve our secret, hidden, pitiful, meaningless, private thoughts. We don't want to look at them. So, and admit them. And so we put it outside of ourselves and we see it in the world. It's a crime scene. It's death row. And our job as teachers of God, we are learning to demonstrate by our behavior and actions that that world is not real. That's what forgiveness is. It's not so. My brother, it's not so. We're to demonstrate that by our living and hopefully to bring to awareness the fact that there really is another way here. The Course is really about another way. And you are the demonstration of that. And that's our assignment here as teachers of God, as mighty companions. And so as have been listening from that perspective and just listening and almost listening to the voices as a chorus. Do you know what I'm saying? As opposed to individuals in bodies. I could hear that chorus rising up and thinking, wow, this is really, really a beautiful, beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. So I just really wanted to thank you and say how glad I am. And the other day, when Dave was teaching, this is Dave Dempsey. So this is Dave delivered a message, a very strong message. On that particular day. But this happens all the time when we're really listening to our brother. They're delivering messages all the time. When we want it to be that way, when that's what I want to see, that's what you want to see and hear. Oh, my brother is delivering messages from the Holy Spirit. What else would a state of grace expect but that? My brother's not the enemy anymore, is what I'm saying. Because there aren't any enemies. But we sure do act like there are enemies, don't we? We sure do. So the other day, Dave presented, let's go to the Manual for Teachers. I have to say the Manual for Teachers is kind of my touchstone. I go there a lot and I always find a strong message waiting there for me. So in this case, Dave was delivering the message and it's page 1 of the Manual for Teachers. At the top of the page, at top of the page 3, and ask yourself this, you know, as I'm reading. Let's each make a deliberate a choice to listen to it in terms of ourselves. And it starts out, a teacher of God is anyone who chooses, and Dave read it this way, to be one. A teacher of God is anyone who chooses to be one. You hear the difference? Not a teacher of God is anyone who wants to be a teacher of God. No, but to be one. Wow, I don't know about any of you. Had you ever read it that way? Or did you think, were you all reading it to be one? Was I the only one that had never gotten this before? And I thought, whoa, totally took the identity out of being a teacher of God, right? Totally takes, I'm a teacher of God, and, you know, I'm doing something here. and I know how to be one, you know, all by myself. Anyway, so I want to read down a little bit. Anyone who has chosen to be one. And then it goes into the qualifications. Somewhere, somehow, he's made the a deliberate choice. Not, I read it, but I really haven't decided yet. I really haven't chosen yet that what I'm really up to here is the be one part. In my prayer, in other words, of my heart, the prayer of my heart is to be one. That's what I want. I want, and the only way I can see, which is why he says in that section, the special function, where we decide we want to be one. We're making a deliberate choice because we understand that we have done everything in our power to defend against that. Everything. Don't assume that you've ever actually done this. That you've, and I would say that every day, don't assume you've done this. Because the minute we assume we've done it, there's an identity showing up. It's just, this is the way I need to live my life. So when I meet any brother, I call down the grace of God by the wish to be one. Because I don't know how to do that. I don't even know what that means until it happens. And then I might remember it for 5 minutes or 10 minutes until, the next annoyance or irritation comes up. And I've just forgotten it again. So to not see He's made a deliberate choice not to see his interests apart from someone else's. Once he's done that, he's had that experience, there's no turning back. We're going to forget about it. We're going to lose it. But we will continue to ask for help and to call down the grace of God upon our eyes, my eyes, your eyes, and say, I want to see. My wish is to see. My wish is to join. That's my wish. But now I want to see. I need to see. Hallelujah. But I mean, once he's done that, his road is established and his direction is sure. A light has entered the darkness. It may be a single light, but that's enough. That is enough. Like, we only need one spark, a real spark. And then you become a spark lighter or whatever you want to call it, you know? And you go around lighting up others because it's what you want to see. You know, your heart opens a little bit, maybe, and you start to really want to see love all around you. He says, when you want only love, you'll see only love. When you want only peace, you'll see only peace. But this light entering and other places Jesus talks about the spark, it's, it's fundamental to changing our direction and the way we see the world. A light has entered the darkness. Christ's light goes with you wherever you go now. Christ's light is the light of knowing we're one. And once we know we're one, as a direct experience, we know we're one with everybody. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. We're one with everyone. Now we want to see it. Now we want to keep seeing it. And it's a real serious motivation. But that motivation isn't coming from an ego that wants to be one, right? The ego never wants to be one. Whenever you want to pull away, whenever I want to pull away, it's because I don't want to be one. So we're going to go through the beginning of the text, and we're going to pick all the lessons about our private thoughts, as he calls them, our pitiful, meaningless, private thoughts. The ones that don't come from God, right? The only thoughts I have that are real are the thoughts that I share with God. That's it. Everything else is made up. And Jesus tries to tell us this over and over and over and over again. It's like, why are we listening to our thoughts? Mira did a great job a couple of days ago teaching that one to all of us at the end of the class. Yeah. And I'm listening. You know, who's listening, for God's sakes? Who is listening? That one's nobody also. That one is nothing also. So then, now we can rise up out of the muck and the mire of the flotsam and jetsam of the ego thought system. And that's what he's going to show us. Starts right off lesson 4, right out of the chutes about our thoughts and how they are showing us either a meaningless world, an unreal world, or I found at least 3, 4, 5 places where he shows us the real world and shows us the distinction between our thoughts and the world we see. The ego, of course, sees the unreal world, and we're going to get a really good picture of what that looks like. It again is the world of the mind that does not want to join. Conflict, war, pain, rejection, abandonment, betrayal, all the ideas in the mind, but the world is the picture of all of that. And again, it's a crime scene. And if you will please remember, as we go through these lessons together, what an amazing thing to be able to do this together, to read these lessons about our thoughts. And for a moment, somewhere in there, I know we will be stopped. We just will stop. We will realize that it's up to me to stop myself. It's up to you to stop yourself. But at some point, you and I will understand. It maybe happen all together. I'm not saying that it needs to happen, all of us as one. But the idea there, I believe, will be received by every one of us here somewhere in the course of doing these lessons on our pitiful, meaningless, private thoughts that we will not share with God or anyone. These are our attack thoughts. Our attack thoughts are showing us a meaningless world and depriving us of our invulnerability. You're invulnerable, I'm invulnerable. But as long as we want to be heard, we're attempting to prove that we are not God's son, that we are not the invulnerable Christ. It's all in the mind. It has nothing to do with the bodies. It's in the mind. It's what do we believe? So remembering, I'm just going to finish up this paragraph. It's so wonderful. At this point, where he recognizes that he wants to be one, and he's committed to that in all of his relationships. Once he's done that, he's entered an agreement with God, because union, oneness is God, oneness is love. Even if he doesn't believe in him, you don't even have to believe in God. He has become a bringer of salvation. He has become a teacher of God. So that's sort of the initiation of, what it means to step into that experience. So again, as we go through these lessons, keep remembering what's going on here and what the choice is. And remember that the Course in Miracles is essentially giving us the opportunity to choose what we want to be. He said, do you want to be a son of God? Do you want to be Christ? Do you want to be, in this case, in this world, a teacher of God? And do you want to heal and bless? You will be bound. The world will be bound. Everything will be bound until we lift our projections from it. And until we really see, until we really see what's there. So remember, as we go through, the ego doesn't want to be one. It doesn't want to join. It doesn't want to demonstrate shared interests. It wants to be, the Course uses the word private, but it really wants to be separate. It wants to be special, different, unique, anything but one. And its world, again, that we look upon is a world filled with enemies. And those enemies justify my defensiveness. That's what they're there for. My defensiveness is justified. And so if I defend myself, I'm saying I'm attacked, and I'm saying you're the attacker. And in a nutshell, that's what the world is for, right? Right? That's what the world is for. Okay, it's a crime scene. I'm going to keep saying that. All right, here we go. Let's go back to we're going to do this through the review lessons because they're shorter, but they're each one a zinger. And we're going to go through the particular lessons, starting with lesson 51, which is the review, the first review. And we have, let me see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, approximately, let's call it 6 sets of lessons. And I'm going to have each of you read 2 in most cases. And to pause for a moment after you read it, just, not even a minute, but again, for us to take this idea in, maybe to ask ourselves a few questions, like, what dreams am I cherishing still here? Help me to look and see what's keeping me still engaged in believing there's a world outside me, external to me, that's causing my loss of peace and of joy. All right. Lesson 51. It's on page 82. And lesson 4 and 5 both talk about our thoughts. Now, there are a couple of lessons that I'm going to have us read that are about seeing. Actually, seeing is in here more than thinking. And I just want you to get the idea for now that thoughts are where it all begins. and we have to be responsible for our thoughts. The thoughts are what are showing us a real world or an unreal world. But today it's mostly going to be thoughts, and then a tinge of seeing, but seeing related to thinking. All right, so the first set will be 51, number 4. These thoughts do not mean anything. And Lynn Altman, would you do that one? And would you do number 5? I'm never upset for the reason I think. Then, and if you need to make a note of this, because I won't remember it, Maurice, would you read in lesson 52, would you read 8? My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. And the next one, which is my thoughts do not mean anything, that will be number 10. Stephen, will you read 53:1 and 53:5? Who's next up there? Dave Dempsey. Will you read 54, first one? I have no neutral thoughts. And 18, because that's the one of the ones where the thought and seeing, the seeing is so important. So would you read 18? All righty. Now, lesson 55. Lesson 23, I can escape from this world by giving up attack thoughts. Lesson 56. My attack thoughts are attacking my invulnerability. We just spoke of that. And above all else, I want to see the prayer of the heart. Both of those would be David Delaplane. Would you read those two? Number 26, lesson 26 on page 92. And then would you also read number 2, all above all else I want to see? Let's see here, how are we doing? Number 57 and 58. No, there are no mentions of thoughts. 59, 45. God is the mind with which I think. And let's see, that would be Kathy Jones. Will you do that one? And then we're going to close with lesson 49. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. And I'll finish with that one, and that will be our closing. Because, you know, the idea is, instead of listening to our pitiful, meaningless private thoughts, we could now and then remember that our mind holds only what we think with God. We're a thought in the mind of God. And we could, you know, just start recognizing that a little bit more in our daily lives. So, all right, let's go back, and the first one on is Lynn Altman. And be sure you take your mute buttons off. If you're a reader, you might want to do that now. Is there anybody that I've asked to do this that can't do it because of something with your computer, or you don't have the book, or any of that? Okay, good. We'll try to make it as smooth as possible. And again, have a little pause after you read so we can, digest what we're hearing, and in the backdrop of the idea that the ego does not want to join. It does not want to be one. So, and then hearing in our thoughts that promote the ego thought system. If you start to think of it as a system in itself, a whole thought system, not just one thing at a time, but that, all this is about is preserving a thought system that we no longer want. Why would we want it? All right. So let me make sure your phone is off. If it's possible that it could ring. All right, let's see, get a drink of water if you need it. I do. We'll do some sharing too after we complete this, if there's time, and I hope hopefully there will be, and I think there will be. Yeah, 10:03. Yeah, let me just ask this for a minute. Do you think it's more beneficial to do breakouts, or is it more beneficial to come back and share together what your experience going through these lessons was? Anybody have any thoughts, clarity on what might be better? I know I hear so many benefits. People love the breakouts, so I don't want to not do that, although that may not be the appropriate thing here. I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe today we just share together.
Mm-hmm.
If that, everybody else agrees.
Okay, is that okay with everybody? Anybody object to that? All right, we'll come back together and we'll share together, because we want to hear, we want to hear, what everyone is seeing, what each one is seeing. All right, so here we go, Lynn Altman, you're on, and everybody knows their place, which one they're doing. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Sure. Nothing I see means anything. The reason this is so is that I see nothing, and nothing has no meaning. It is necessary that I recognize this, that I may learn to see. What I think I see now is taking the place of vision. I must let it go by realizing it has no meaning, so that vision may take its place. I have given what I see all the meaning it has for me. I have judged everything I look upon, and it is this and only this I see. This is not vision. It is merely an illusion of reality, because my judgments have been made quite apart from reality. I am willing to recognize the lack of validity in my judgments because I want to see. My judgments have hurt me, and I do not want to see according to them.
And the next lesson, 62 on the next page, number 3. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. I see only my thoughts, my own thoughts, and my mind is preoccupied with the past. What then can I see as it is? Let me remember that I look on the past to prevent the present from dawning on my mind. Let me understand that I am trying to use time against God Let me learn to give the past away, realizing that in so doing, I'm giving up nothing. And then over to number 5. My thoughts do not mean anything. I have no private thoughts, yet it is only private thoughts of which I am aware. What can these thoughts mean? They do not exist, and so they mean nothing. Yet my mind is part of creation and part of its creator. Would I not rather join the thinking of the universe than to obscure all that is really mine with my pitiful and meaningless private thoughts?
Lesson 53. 1. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. Since the thoughts of which I am aware do not mean anything, the world that pictures them can have no meaning. What is producing this world is insane, and so is what it produces. Reality is not insane, and I have real thoughts as well as insane ones. I can therefore see the real world, a real world, if I look to my thoughts as my guide for seeing. 5. My thoughts are images that I have made. Whatever I see reflects my thoughts. It is my thoughts that tell me where I am and what I am. The fact that I see a world in which there is suffering and loss and death shows me that I am seeing only the representation of my insane thoughts, and am not allowing my real thoughts to cast their beneficent light on what I see. Yet God's way is sure. The images I have made cannot prevail against him because it is not my will that they do so. My will is his, and I will place no other gods before him.
Lesson 54, number 1. I have no neutral thoughts. Neutral thoughts are impossible because all thoughts have power. They will either make a false world or lead me to the real one. But thoughts cannot be without effects. As the world I see arises from my thinking errors, so will the real world rise before my eyes as I let my errors be corrected. My thoughts cannot be neither true nor false. They must be one or the other. What I see shows me which they are. Number 3, I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing. If I have no private thoughts, I cannot see a private world. Even the mad idea of separation had to be shared before it could form the basis of the world I see. Yet, that sharing was a sharing of nothing. I can also call upon my real thoughts, which share everything with everyone. As my thoughts of separation call to the separation thoughts of others, so my real thoughts awaken the real thoughts in them. In the world, my real thoughts show me will dawn on their sight as well as mine.
Lynn, I don't think you assigned anybody 55.
There aren't any lessons. Oh, yes, there is. 23. Let's see, Dave, would you then pick that up and read it on page 90? I can escape the world. Dave Dempsey, could you do that for us? Because you
Yes.
got your book right there, you just
Sure.
read. Yeah.
I can escape from this world by giving up attack thoughts. Herein lies salvation, and nowhere else. Without attack thoughts, I could not see a world of attack. As forgiveness allows love to return to my awareness, I will see a world of peace and safety and joy. And it is this I choose to see in place of what I look on now.
Lesson 56, paragraph 1. My attack thoughts are attacking my invulnerability. How can I know who I am when I see myself as under constant attack? Pain, illness, loss, age, and death seem to threaten me. All my hopes and wishes and plans appear at the mercy of the world I cannot control. Yet perfect security and complete fulfillment are my inheritance. I have tried to give my inheritance away in exchange for the world I see. But God has kept my inheritance safe from me. My own real thoughts will teach me what it is. In paragraph 5, God is in everything I see because God is in my mind. In my own mind, behind all my insane thoughts of separation and attack, is the knowledge of all that is one forever. I have lost the knowledge of who I am because I have forgotten. It has been kept for me in the mind of God, who has not left his thoughts, and I, who am among them, am one with them and one with him.
Let's see, Kathy Jones. You're on mute, Kathy.
I thought I was on lesson 59. Are we all the way over there now? I'm sorry. And I was paying attention. So good. Okay. Anyway, lesson 59, number 5. God is the mind with which I think. I have no thoughts I do not share with God. I have no thoughts apart from him because I have no mind apart from his. As part of his mind, my thoughts are his and his thoughts are mine.
I want to add one, I think we skipped it. Above all else, I want to see. It is on lesson 56, page 92. And I think of this as the prayer of the heart, the prayer that this entire Course in Miracles is about, to change the way we see, by changing the way we think, to see a different world. Above all else, I want to see. Recognizing that what I see reflects what I think I am. I realize that vision is my greatest need. The world I see attests to the fearful nature of the self-image I have made. I would remember who I am. And if I would remember who I am, it is essential that I let this image of myself go. As it is replaced by truth, vision will surely be given me. And with this vision, I will look upon the world and on myself with charity and with love. So let's do a breakout. If you would hold on just a second. I see Tim on the screen. Let's see, Tim, are you there? And can you give us a breakout?
Yeah, sure. I thought you were going to do it in a big group.
Oh, we did decide that, didn't we? Oh, yes. See how fast it comes and goes. I wrote this note to myself
Me too.
the other day. It said, the only thing you need to remember is now. Can you remember that? It's helpful in times of need. All right. So, thoughts, shares, doubts, questions. Yeah, Kathy Jones.
I just wanted to share on the one that I read, God is the mind, with which I think. I have no thoughts apart from him because I have no mind apart from his. Ideas leave not their source. So it's impossible that I could ever have left him and that I'm apart from him now, except in a dream or illusion.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
It is indeed a dream, he says, but do you believe it's a dream? Every time I react to something, I don't believe it's a dream. I think it's real. And I can be hurt and I can hurt. That's the dream. Oh, Reese, yes.
I wanted to thank everybody, but especially Myra. The last lesson, I think it was, her little nonverbal thing that really snapped me out of a bunch of crime scenes. My own crime scene. It really helped. I want to thank her, and I want to thank everybody. It's just been such a communal oneness experience lately.
Yeah, indeed it has. Thanks, Reese. Yes, Bruce.
Yeah, let's make sure I'm unmuted. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I've really been enjoying this today, and the last couple of weeks I've had this wonderful classroom, and that is I've been here with my mom, and she's having these hallucinations, and and I'm realizing, every time she talks about people in the house that I don't see, I realize I'm having such profound hallucinations, and we've talked about this, which it's kind of been interesting because she introduced me to the course decades ago, and we've talked about metaphysics for a half century together, so it's not like it's a taboo subject or anything, and so we talk about the fact that she's seeing things that I don't see, and then I was every time we talk about it though, I'm profoundly struck with what a great classroom this is for looking at my own mind and seeing I'm making everything up too. There's no difference. There's absolutely no difference. It's just that hers are just not as socially acceptable hallucinations, but they're all hallucinations. And anyway, what a great blessing to see that, and then it helps me to be more compassionate with myself, as well as realize that we all need that assurance to know that all the hallucinations, that the fearful images that we've made are nothing. They really don't amount to anything, and we need to do everything we can to stay lucid and mindful and see that all the stuff we made up has had no effect on our real identity that we all share. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Yeah, Dale. You're on mute, Dale. Yeah.
Yeah, there. I love that last one that you read, Lynn, the above all else I want to see. Recognizing what I see reflects what I think I am. And right there, I mean, if I think I'm something other than a son of God, then everything's going to distort my perception. And that's why I think in the Course, Jesus keeps mentioning, I am as God created me. I'm not a body. I am as God created me. It's over and over again in the Course. So that's a very powerful reminder of where all of our distorted thinking and images come from if we don't have that solid image.
Right. Yeah. It's so true. Thanks, Dale.
Thank you.
Yes, Stephen, and then Judy. Rob, yes, Stephen.
Yes, again, thank you, Tamara. Spent all day yesterday saying this, which rhymes with what we're doing. I think you mentioned it earlier. My mind holds only what I think with God. You know, that's a review over and over for a few days, and it's changing my mind. You know, Myra mentioned it twice, and it's been vivid ever since in the past couple classes. And she mentioned that she thinks that before she gets out of, you know, during her quiet time in the morning, or, you know, before she starts her day. And I put that into my repertoire, and it really, it's really powerful to just look at the statement and hope that might happen sometime. Thank you.
Yeah.
My mind holds only what I think of God. Good golly. Thank you.
I just love this. I mean, we're beginning to see how we learn from one another, you know, and like little sponges, you know. Everybody here is willing to be a learner. Yeah, it's great. Thank you, Judy. Rob, you had to share.
I can really feel the bliss of and the happiness of oneness. Every once in a while, something comes up, a judgment usually, and boy, I can just feel that coming out of the bottom of the soles of my feet. So, how wonderful to just lay aside this mental image of myself and everybody else and just rest. Cloud 9 is a good place to be sometimes. Thanks.
Thanks, Judy. I always think of I rest in God. When I get in that state, it's like, oh, here it comes, you know, here it comes. And I'm resting in God. And you know, I'm getting more and more that we can go through our days like that with the awareness that we're resting in God. And I have those times where it feels like absolutely everything just falls into place. One thing after another, after another, after another, you know, because I'm not interfering. I'm willing, you know, to lay it all aside and, you know, always seek for that place of grace. So yeah, thanks for sharing that, Judy. Yeah, Dave Dempsey.
Yeah, I was just thinking as I was listening to all those lessons, how they funnel down in today's I trust my brothers who are one with me. And do I have that trust that the Holy Spirit is in them like it's in me, you know? And even if I can't see that oneness in that point, it's that shared interest of that connection that the Holy Spirit could be there.
Yes.
And I was reading earlier today in the chapter 9, the acceptance of the atonement, the answer to prayer, where it talks about having that trust that the Holy Spirit is in my brother. And that's the problem. I don't. And what it's telling me today in this review that we're in, and the lesson from the other day, is to just shut up for a second. Turn off all the attack thoughts, all the judgments. Can you just step back for just a second, take a breath, and then just ask yourself, what if the Holy Spirit was in my brother as in me? And it just changes everything, you know? And I love that lesson, you know, give me your blessing, Holy Son of God. Because every time I do that, when I walk up on somebody, whether I'm going to talk to them or just pass them by, I see them completely different in that moment. Because give me your blessing, you're a holy son of God. Well, yeah, that's just enough to take that pause and turn off my crazy thinking, the illusions that I have. Yeah, so this is great. Thanks.
Yeah, that give me your blessing, Holy Son of God, is so indicative of wanting to join. We're equals. I think I know something, but now I think you know something too. And I can listen to you regardless of what you're doing. Do you ever find, Dave, that it doesn't always come to you in a glowing spiritual way, like my brother, give me your blessing. Sometimes it might not be. Is that true? Or is it always a loving, beautiful response?
Oh, no, sometimes I'm just doing it to do it because I just need to latch on to something sometimes,
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even believe it when I'm doing it, but it changes my perspective of what I was doing.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the miracle happens, because that's where the change
Right.
of thought comes.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're not necessarily looking for a response.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, what I'm trying to do is
Very good. Very
see a
good.
similarity there, that,
Yeah.
That's all.
That's
Just
great.
stop me. Stop this self who I think I am. Yeah, that's really what it's about.
Yeah. Let's see, Myra, and then I think Abby, did you have your hand up or wait? No, okay. Oh, Asmani. Asmani, did you have your hand up?
Who was first? I don't know.
Okay, was it Stephen was next? No, Myra was next.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Like you just said, we're sponges because we don't have private thoughts. We're sponges. Yeah. I also just wanted to react to the lesson that you read, Lynn. Above all else, I want to see. And what Dale said, that sin about think of what I am, but also the sentence, essential that I let this image of myself go. And then I just, like every day, I am so thankful to Ken Wapnick when he always was saying, you have to realize who Jesus is talking to. He's not talking to a make-believe person in the dream. He's always talking to your mind, always. And then again, so thankful to Ken always for that image of the puppets and the puppet player, because that image really helped me when he said, okay, you're just a puppet. And who's pulling on the strings? And then to really, through this image, finally, it took a long time, about 15 years, finally to realize I am a decision maker. It didn't happen all at once. It took a long time. But I'm always grateful to Ken that I finally learned, yes, I am a mind, I am a decision maker. And that happens all by being a puppet. Isn't that wonderful?
Hey, thanks. Thanks, Myra. Yeah. Asmani? Maybe I misunderstood. I thought I saw your hand.
No, I didn't wave my hand, but I want to use the opportunity to thank you all because in the last few days I've been connecting a lot with this idea of oneness and as you said today, I don't know how I missed that paragraph at the beginning of the manual for teachers. It's all we need to do. It's just become one, not the one as we want to be. We want to be the one. Mm-hmm. It's just one, which is wonderful. So I really wanted to thank you because I've been in deep silence the previous days, just meditating on that. So thank you very much. Thank you all.
Yeah, thanks, Asmani. Yeah, Dave is responsible for the one thing, the teaching on the one thing that really it came across loud and strong. It's such a clear, we think we're teaching. I do anyway. Sometimes I think I'm actually doing something. And then, something just drops in like that little shift from the way the tone of the word And it makes all the difference. And you didn't do it. There's no way that would have happened, or that thought would have happened, or that expression would have happened. It's, the more we know that, and the more we invite that, the more we begin to be very alert to the unseen, unheard world that we're ushering in, so to speak, that Jesus wants us to usher in, which is the idea of the Christ. There is only one, and we are that. So,
Lynn, when you read that this morning, I realized how out of context I read that. But that just shows that didn't come through me.
exactly.
Yeah, because when you went back and read it, I thought to myself, boy, I got that all wrong. Just somebody who wants to be a teacher,
Yeah.
not somebody who wants to be one. And so I don't know where that came from. So that's just
no.
Yeah.
But
Well,
you definitely had a different tone in your voice completely when you used that word.
Yeah.
And I you weren't the one doing it. It was just like boom. And so we know, Jesus is here, the Holy Spirit's here, Ken's here, and we've got help is always available. Always available. Yeah, Lynn.
Yeah, that particular point relates to one of the lessons was that we have real thoughts as well as insane thoughts. And that was an example of the real thought, which we normally read it with our insane thoughts. And I don't know, it caught me this morning that I don't think I've thought that I have real thoughts. I mean, I don't think I believed that it was possible that I am this decision-making mind that can access the real thoughts that I think with God. It's almost like I've been so obsessed about the ego mind and how I'm thinking about things, and it's always wrong and all that sort of stuff, that I've just sort of locked myself in a way into this. So when those real thoughts burst through, part of the process, I think, is recognizing that comes from the me that is beyond, how I think of myself, but it's not separate and apart. That thought was, okay, it wasn't Dave Dempsey, but it was the collective self. And I mean, I feel like what you did this morning with doing these things in a row really pointed out the system that I'm a part of, that I'm, emerging from. And it's all of these components, and seeing it all together like that was just it was like walking through a forgiveness lesson together to the other side. And it began at the beginning of being one. So I mean, it was just, everything was contained within that one idea. So thanks so much.
Yes, yeah. Thank God. Thank all of our teachers. Yes, somebody have their hand. David Delaplane.
Yes, in that section you gave me to read, lesson 56, item 5, it says, I have not lost the knowledge of who I am just because I have forgotten it. That struck me pretty well. And then it says the knowledge of who I am is being kept for me in the mind of God, who has not left his thoughts, and I am among them, and one with them, and one with him. Just because I've forgotten the knowledge of who I am doesn't mean that I have lost it. And it speaks to what David Dempsey was referring to. Give me your blessing, Holy Son of God, I'm with my brothers. Or today's lesson, I trust my brothers who are one with me. We just have to remember who we are and who they are, and express these statements. Because we've forgotten who we are, God has still preserved the knowledge of who we are, and he can remind us of that at any given moment.
Yeah, David, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, the rub is recognizing and fully meaning that we want to be one. You know, that's where the real turning point comes. You know, because when you realize that's what the teacher of God is, you know, he wants to be one, and he demonstrates that he wants to be one. There's something slightly different in that realization also. You know, it makes it really clear there's only one thing, and that is what we truly want, you know, return home. Thank you. Let's see. Well,
When Bruce was talking about his mom, and that there's this kind of this consensus, this agreement that her hallucinations are hallucinations. It's like this consensual thing, like against her, like mine are real. I don't hallucinate. She does. And just that, those kind of bargains that where I get in that kind of consensual, whether it's political, you know, I think the whole other the planet is off and running, and they're all caught up in hallucination. I mean, they're, you know, I think they're crazy, but I'm not, you know, and if I can get you to agree with me, it was really hitting me how all special love relationships are not about, in that sense, about love at all. They're just who we decided is having a hallucination. So politically, the other side's having hallucination. Bruce's mom is having hallucinations, but we're not. You and I agree we're not having hallucination, but they sure. But all special love, it's all against somebody or something. And that it just, of course, it eliminates oneness right off the bat. You and I get together in a relationship to agree who's hallucinating.
yeah, you know, and I'm hallucinating my separateness, my specialness, you know, that's what I'm hallucinating. And, you know, I have to fess up, one of the realizations that I had when I was listening to sessions, but I wasn't there, and I couldn't be seen, and I didn't speak. I just was laying there listening. I had the wonderful awareness, but I also had, first of all, you know, a realization of an ego part of myself, which was I really like to be heard and I really like to be seen. And it was, you know, who is it that likes to be heard and seen? And it was like, whoa, you know, I mean, there's just no end to our classrooms. They're everywhere. If we're paying attention, the ego is afoot. Either that or I'm in a state of grace. That's it. It's one or the other. And it's becoming so clear. And you know, we're grateful for that. We're not here, you know, to sweep it under the carpet. We're here to actually be willing to recognize how much I'm here to recognize how much I interfere. So thanks. Who else? Someone? Yeah, Myra.
I would just like to share about the first 50 lessons in exercise that I learned from somebody else. And it was about 5 or 6 years ago when this body was very, very sick, could practically do nothing at all, very, very sick. And they said, go to the table of contents, start at lesson number 1 and go all the way to lesson 50 slowly, but change it. Nothing I see about sickness means anything. I have given sickness all the meaning that it has for me. I do not understand anything about sickness. These thoughts about sickness do not mean anything. Okay, and keep on going, slowly, surely, using it for what is upsetting you at this moment. Maybe it's not sickness, it could be something else. Very, very powerful exercise. By the time you get to lesson 40, the wonderful 40s, it's the turnaround. It's just the turnaround. You can't finish this exercise without feeling wonderful. It's just not possible. That's just the miracle. And it was probably the longest forgiveness exercise I ever did. but it was very, very healing. And I really would recommend it. If there's something that's really bothering you, you could give it a try. You don't have to do all 50, but the lessons are just miraculous.
Yeah, they are.
And they heal, and just use them in different ways and play with them. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Myra. Let's see. Anyone else? All right, let's see how we're going to close this out. Well, it is time now to close it out. So let me look here. I'm going to go to God's voice speaks to me all through the day. It's lesson 49. And we'll spend a few minutes in quiet. I'll just read the last part. Oh, heck, I'll read the whole thing. God's voice speaks to us all through the day. It's quite possible to listen to God's voice all through the day without interrupting your regular activities in any way. The part of your mind in which truth abides is in constant communication with God. Whether you are aware of it or not. It is the other part of your mind that functions in the world and obeys the world's laws. It is this part that is constantly distracted, disorganized, and highly uncertain. The part that is listening to the voice for God is calm, always at rest, and wholly certain. It is really the only part there is. The other part is a wild illusion, frantic, distraught, but without reality of any kind. Try not to listen to it. Try not to listen to it. Try to identify with the part of your mind where stillness and peace reign forever. Try to hear God's voice call to you lovingly, reminding you that your Creator has not forgotten his Son. We will approach this happiest and holiest of thoughts with confidence, knowing that in doing so, we are joining our will with the will of God. He wants you to hear his voice. He gave it to you to be heard. Listen in deep silence. Be very still and open your mind. Go past all of the raucous shrieks, the sick imaginings that cover your real thoughts and obscure your eternal link with God. Sink deep into the peace that waits for you beyond the frantic, riotous thoughts and sights and sounds of this insane world. You do not live here. We are trying to reach your real home. We are trying to reach the place where you are truly welcome. We are trying to reach God. whenever you can throughout the day, close your eyes on the world and realize you are inviting God's voice to speak to you. Let God's voice speak to us throughout this glorious day. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
You.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Everyone. It's lovely.
Peace
Thanks.
and love.
you,
Have a
Lynn.
wonderful
Peace,
day.
everybody.
Thank you, Lynn.
Amen.
all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Have a happy